I'm currently procrastinating because I don't want to film things. Hi, welcome back to another podcast. Today we have a solo cast. I'm all alone. That's right. No friends, no family, no acquaintances. All I have are leftover cotton balls from my previous projects, and there are many of them. I'm going to put this cotton ball in my head, actually. You can't see it, but maybe I'll put a PNG of a cotton ball on the screen. I was going to say in my head, but I don't usually do that with this new format. In the old format of the podcast, I could put it on my head, but I don't usually include the PNG of myself anymore, do I? Or, well, sometimes I do. I guess I did one time, and then I didn't for the other pod. I don't know, bro. I guess I don't know. I don't know if it'll be there. Whatever. I'll probably get into that a little bit later with podcasty type thingies. But I guess first things first, this is going to be a podcast kind of just sort of catching up with everything that's happened and what the present/future may look like. We'll get into it. So, I guess if you have followed me on my YouTube journey, you'll know that the past 2.5, nearly 3 years actually, but it's kind of in and out with some of the time frame. I've been working on my channel called Zeez Vov Gee V / Zeez Vov Gee V. I think 5 is probably more fitting because it was based off the game Identity V, which recently that channel has entered indefinite hiatus. So if you were not a watcher of the Identity V channel, basically, here's a quick history. In August of 2023, actually August 15th, I played a game called Identity V. It's an asymmetrical horror game, like 1v4, hunters versus survivors, killers versus survivors, whatever you want to call it. And I kind of got addicted, fell in love to the game, and started making a ton of content on it. And then in that community, got a decently sized channel with 57,000 subscribers. I think it was actually at 57.3K was the apex before people unsubscribed due to the indefinite hiatus / quitting. And so I should probably put down this fiberglass rod that I'm holding. Yeah, let me not do that, actually. I like to mess with things in my hands while I'm talking. Let me use this Sharpie instead. I'm going to hold on to this Sharpie. So if you hear the sound of... That's the sound of the Sharpie, of me opening it and closing it. Wait, I distracted myself. What was I talking about? All right, Identity V, the history. Yeah. So on this podcast specifically, in one of the later episodes of the Catching Zeez podcast before it died, I don't know if this is still the Catching Zeez podcast anymore. This is more just the transitional podcast, I would say, before I can figure out a new name for it. We'll figure it out before we start up a new podcast series, if we do. It's a potential plan. We'll discuss that later. But in one of the episodes toward the end, I mentioned that I was starting a secret project to my friends, and I was growing it organically, and that was the Identity V channel. Normally when I start new channels, because I start too many of them, I would always ask my current subscriber base to like, hey, go check it out. But this time I was like, we're going to grow organically, which we did successfully. And we got to 57,000 subscribers, which was pretty cool. And so through 2.5 years and many, many, many memories, we have decided to close, or I guess end the channel, potentially temporarily, maybe forever. It's indefinite hiatus, so I really can't say. I really enjoyed the game, really loved the game, still have so many fun memories for the game, and still have so much passion for the game. But there were several reasons why I quit, and I guess I can go over them briefly here. The biggest one was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back that really made me decide to stop, which was the game's use of generative AI. I absolutely despise generative AI. I think it's, in most cases, anti-human technology. I think there are very explicit cases where it can be used as a tool to assist humanity, but in most cases, it's, right now, at least the technology is being used for, in my opinion, anti-creativity, anti-human designs, and also the environmental impact is awful. There's so many bad things about it. I generally think it's making people stupider as well. But, you know, people always say things about new technologies, and so only time will really tell. But for me, my research and from what I've seen, it's just that technology is truly... It really is, in my opinion, it's quite anti-human in most of it. Again, it's quite deep. It's not everything involves. It doesn't mean all AI is bad. I'm specifically referring to generative AI. So that really sucks that the game started to use that. Now, it looks like it has backed off, but there was no official statement from the company on their use of generative AI. But there are also other reasons as well. IDV has never been very accurate with representing their people of color characters in the game, which is really, really unfortunate. And it's unfortunately been kind of ignored for a long time. And it really only seems like, despite the constant pleas from what I might say is a lot of Western fans, I'm not really sure how big it is from regions like China and Japan, where the game is absolutely massive, especially in China. I'm not really sure how much that community tends to care about these things, but a lot of the Western fans were very passionate about this. And because the West is like a speck compared to those regions, most people assume that they aren't really going to respond to those types of things, which is really unfortunate. And from what I've heard from some associates in China is that when it comes to these companies in China, they really don't tend to make statements on these things. It's just kind of their way of doing things. Now, if it was a much smaller company, maybe like a more independent company, maybe there's a chance. But like NetEase is just like absolutely huge. I think there was a similar issue with Genshin in the past with their characters. I don't know the full story of that, but you know, I think the company behind that, MiHoYo or whatever, they also didn't respond to any of that, to my knowledge. So it was quite unfortunate to see. And so there are also some personal reasons as well. Health reasons. One, like my sleep schedule was always terrible when it came to making content for that game, because a lot of the tournaments that I would live stream took place at like very late hours for me. I would basically from Monday through Thursday, I would sleep like a normal person. And then from like Friday to Sunday, I would like have to completely swap my sleep schedule. And then going back and forth between that really made my head confused a lot of the time. It was definitely not healthy for long term. And I mean, I could still see myself doing it again, but like I would need to have a much better plan doing it, that's for sure. And basically there were days where I just like would only sleep during the day. And I think it was really tricky during the winter time because I just wouldn't see the sun like ever, because I think for some days where it just got too hard, I would basically be going to sleep when the sun was coming up, and then it'd be evening when I would wake up or something. I don't know. It was that was only part of it. Also, the community tends to be pretty toxic at times. I won't really get into it now, but there's like a lot of dark things that happen in the community, mostly due to, well, just people being rude, people's just being too bored, and misinformation leading to straight up lies, because people again are just bored and so they need drama. And so it just kind of chipped away at me over time. And so like all those things kind of combined together, and I decided, you know what, let's just leave things be. And it's a little unfortunate because I still have much passion for the game, and I still have so many things that I want to do with the game, and I kind of had to just, you know, move on from that, you know. But I think of it like this: if it's meant to be, then it'll return to me in my life, right? That's the thing. If it's meant to be, then I'll go back to it. But of course, though, that a lot of stars would have to align for those things to happen, right? So basically, before I left, I decided to make a final video, kind of just like an anthology that just was all my final projects, not final projects, but a lot of unfinished projects. Not all of them. I still have a handful, probably like, I would say like 25 videos or something that like didn't make the cut, mostly because they just weren't that entertaining to like the majority of the audiences. So they just weren't included. But I basically made that video, made the little special thing toward the end, had a few extra scenes in there, and decided to close off the channel, I guess, in the best way that I could. And I guess to kind of give you a bit of a feeling as to what that felt like, because I guess a lot of people were a bit worried about me after I said that I was moving on, because, you know, I was very active on that channel, at least as much as I could be. And so when it stopped, I guess when KOA, for example, if you don't know what KOA is, it's like the biggest tournament of the year for IDV. I live stream all the matches, or I do videos on all the matches, and then for the finals, I made like one final live stream of that, and then pretty much no one heard from me for like 2 months outside of like my core audience that like watch me on streams and whatnot that aren't IDV, or over here on this channel, or on the daily channel, or wherever else I was, right? Wherever else I was making content. And so I think a lot of people were worried there for a minute about like, oh, what's going on? What's he doing? And, you know, is he financially well? Which I am definitely in. I've definitely been going in the red. That's for sure. But good news is we actually just got monetized on this channel, so that's pretty cool. Can't wait to make 75 cents off of this video. That's gonna be great. But yeah, I just know a lot of people were wondering, I guess, what I was doing, kind of what I was going through during the time when I guess I stopped making content on IDV. It was a pretty difficult decision to come to. I mean, it was literally... It's tricky because it was somewhat self-inflicted, I feel like. Obviously, there are morals that I stand for, and I don't want to go back on those morals. But also, like, there are compromises you can make, right? Like, there are other creators that hold the same stance as I do, but still are making content mostly due to the fact that they don't really have a choice. You know, people got to make money in this game, or in this world somehow, and you got to do what you can do. I mean, it's not an easy... It's not easy, you know, trying to live life on your own 2 feet nowadays. I mean, there's a reason why so many people are still living with their parents. Like, things are expensive. Things are not easy to afford. Like, a lot of people just don't have any money, right? And I think it's unfortunate that I saw a lot of people in the community kind of attacking creators and saying, oh, get a real job, get a real job. Or... You can tell it's kids, right? You can tell it's just kids saying that. Like, they're kids saying, like, oh, get a real job. You don't have to make content. You could just go out in the world, get a real job. When you're basically telling somebody to, like, somebody that you may have watched for entertainment in the past, mind you. And so, like, the way that you could the way that you'd be thanking them and paying them back is by saying quit, or like quit your job, basically. But you know, it's like, there's so many risks of like financial stability in the world right now. And so to ask people to quit is like, I don't know. I felt like it was like really, really rude, uneducated. I don't know. I won't get into that too much. But like I was saying, after Koa ended, I was pretty sad. I was definitely pretty sad because my biggest passion and my job, which were, you know, fortunately enough for me, both combined, and all of the recent cool things that it's tricky because it felt like at the start of this year, or I guess I should say the end of last year, things were looking so up, right? I had been invited to Japan to commentate for the tournaments. Like, there were so many cool things on the horizon, right? And then it all kind of came crashing down. So it was really, really sad that, you know, this thing that I had built up for 2.5 years and seeing the community get more opportunities like alongside me as well was really, really cool. Like, for example, the West is now finally getting an in-person tournament, which hasn't happened in forever. Like, I don't remember the last time IDV has ever had a tournament in the West in person. I don't know if they ever have, actually. I can't remember. And so that's huge, right? That's absolutely huge. We haven't had that either ever or in so long. And so that was like a crazy opportunity, and it just kind of is unfortunate that it, you know, happens alongside all this. But, you know, I was feeling pretty sad. I was feeling pretty sad with everything because I didn't really know what to do. And I really have to thank my friends for kind of helping me through it, especially like my IRL friends. The previous podcast members on the Catching Zeez podcast, my friends Emmy, the Little Rookie, and Racecar67. I chatted with them a lot about the situation. I think more than anybody else, the Little Rookie, I definitely did. And throughout the month of June specifically, pretty much like once or twice a week, I would just talk with the Little Rookie for 3 to 4 hours straight. And we just, like, obviously it wouldn't only just be about this situation, YouTube and whatnot, but we just have like some fun conversations and whatnot. But I think he gave me a lot of good advice throughout our discussions, and it was really important for me to hear a lot of those things because I felt very lost. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I felt like I had 1,000 directions that I could go. And he gave me a lot of, I don't know, he gave me a lot of good advice. Well, I think one thing in particular was I kept telling him like, oh, I want to do all these things, right? For example, like, oh, I want to maybe try to do like cooking. I want to do some like cooking channels. I want to do Pokemon. I want to do Fire Emblem. I want to draw some more. I want to learn how to play the violin. I want to do like all these things, right? And he said, like, if you're going to try to keep going in all these directions, you're never going to move in a single direction. You're just going to stay put. Like, imagine it like you are standing somewhere and then like generally you're being pulled by people like on all your limbs. Like people, you're just like hanging in the air and your arms and legs are all just like pulling on them. And like, you just never move because you're just being pulled in so many different directions. Maybe that's a terrible example. But like, you know, if you pull on something in so many different directions, it's never going to move in any direction, right? And so like that, he basically was saying like that's just going to lead you to more burnout. Because at the time, what I was doing was I was making Zeez Vov Gee daily. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. Let me just like keep making content and figure something out. Because that's what I've always done. I've always just kind of brute forced my content into the things that I was passionate about and just figured the stuff out that way. It was like I told him that I saw the Masahiro Sakurai video, since I watch a lot of his YouTube videos. He's the developer for Super Smash Bros. And I think I mentioned this before on a different discussion on a live stream or something. But, you know, he was always about like, oh, just do the work and think about what it all means later, right? It's just tonikaku yare, which means just do it already. And so that was kind of just how I did things ever since I, you know, heard that. I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this thing and I'll think about it later. And think about what it all means later. Just get the work done for now, right? And so that was kind of what I was doing. But I wasn't really thinking, and the little rookie kind of was like, you gotta think, bro, you gotta think. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I gotta think. And so eventually I decided, well, I think what I'm gonna do after all these things, all this stuff from IDV, I think it's time to move on, right? And so I released the video that I said I was gonna move on, said I was gonna work on some final projects, tried to start working on them, didn't really feel like any of them were working out, so I decided to just go for one final video, which I already kind of talked about in the behind the scenes and a little bit elsewhere. But I released one last video for that channel, and it was really funny because I think the entirety of the month of May and the month of June and even part of July, I was pretty depressed. Like I was really, really sad because, like I said, this great passion had just been ripped away from me, it felt like. But when I made that video, it felt good. Like I was happy. I genuinely think that video is a good video for what it was worth. And it's tricky because I don't really feel like I can say that about a lot of my content. I feel like I'm very critical of my own content. But I think that video, the video called Christmas in July, I think that's a good video. I don't think it's like a good YouTube video, but I think it's a good video. Now, what I mean by that is algorithmically, I think it's not a very good video. But I think for the circumstances, I think it's a good video. And I think there's good content to be found in it. Algorithmically, it's awful. It's generally awful. I mean, I literally started with like a picture slideshow, bro. Everybody's going to click off of that, right? Like if the video was played in reverse, it would probably do way better. Well, maybe not, because there's also a slideshow toward the end as well of fan art. It probably would have been best algorithmically if I started with the final scene and then did like Tomodachi Life second and then Japan third and then all the rest of the stuff later. But that wasn't really how I wanted to do it, right? It was, I did it how I wanted to do it. And for me, it's a good video. Like I am happy with that video. I'm content with that video. And I think the biggest thing was that it gave me the closure that I needed. I think that was why I made the video. It was for closure because I had felt that IDV was like just kind of ripped away from me, despite all the things that I wanted to do, like all the things that I've been building up and we're continuing to build up. So many of like the future plans that I had just all kind of came crumbling down. And so I felt like I needed a way, an outlet to express that, at least for one more time. And that was kind of the goal of the final video, was to just give that to me. And so when it came out and when I finally finished it, I remember feeling like I remember feeling happy and fulfilled, and I wasn't sad. And it worked. Like, that was kind of the goal. And that was the goal of the final scene as well, which I did the behind the scenes on in the last video, like I mentioned. Because there were a lot of other people that were, that said they were quite sad. It's hard to believe, but people even said like they were crying over it, which, again, it's really hard for me to believe something like that. It's crazy, but I guess what I wanted with that final scene was for people to like just kind of be happy with the thing that I had created one more time. And that was why it was like kind of goofy and silly, because I didn't want to make it like sad. I wanted to make it silly. And so that's why it was made like that, because I wanted to make people like happy about my content before I left, basically. So that was the goal of it. And it was funny because that project came to fruition because of those talks that I had with my friends. I was thinking about like what to put in the final video for so long. And I had so many discussions with the little rookie, Emmy, and Racecar67, and even some other friends as well. It's kind of about like what I'm going to be doing. And I remember one thing was like, the little rookie asked me to put together a playlist of videos on YouTube of things that I was inspired by, or things that really made me feel like what basically made me want to become a YouTuber, like inspiration that I took from other people that I love, like videos that I think are really, really good. And I remember reflecting on that, but I remember not just reflecting on that, but of the creations that I did as a child. What I did a lot as a child was I played with like anything that I could get my hands on. And what I remember I loved doing, I don't really know where it started. I don't know if it was because of Dragon Quest IX. I don't know if it was because of Pokemon. I don't know if it was because of like some form of RPG or just all the video games that I played as a child. But I remember I would play with like any little toy that I just thought was special to me in some way. Even if it wasn't like a good toy, I would still play with it. And I would find a story or like find some meaning in it. And I guess this was like multiple things combined, but I remember specifically when I was younger, I had I guess I'll call it an RPG party. I don't really know how to describe it, but I specifically remember, I don't remember what age I was, but I remember it was always a team of 4. The leader was a gingerbread eraser. It was literally just an eraser, like for pencils and whatnot, and it was shaped like a gingerbread. He was the leader. His name was Gingy. He was Gingy the leader. I don't remember the other characters' names, but that was the first toy. The second one was a rock named Rocky. It was just a rock, like a smooth little rock with Google eyes, and they were all really small, and that was the character. And then the third one was literally a cotton ball with Google eyes, except they were really tiny, and I thought the cotton ball was really cute, and I liked it a lot. And then there was a fourth one. I don't remember what the fourth one was, actually. But there were, like, 4 of these little things, and I remember, like, on the couch, and I made them battle, like, a worm or something. And I remember thinking back to that, and I was like, dang. I just did it because I loved it. And it kind of made me think back to, like, when I was younger, I used to play with like plushies a lot. I have a lot of plushies from when I was a kid, but I'd play with plushies all the time. I'd make them go on like little adventures just on my imagination. And so I kind of thought about that, and that's where I had the idea to make the final scene, which was like the little puppets drawn on like with Sharpie and make them dance around. Because another thing that I also really liked doing was I would just build things out of cardboard as a kid. I remember specifically, I wanted to give my little characters a home, so I would build houses out of cardboard. Because we had an unfinished basement, right? And like down there we had so many boxes. And what I would do is I would combine the boxes to make forts and ships and a few other things. I think there was only like 4 or 5 that I ended up building, but they're all destroyed now. But I remember... I remember this because I was so into Kirby that I made a ship, and I still remember the name of it. It was called the Light Dragoon Star Cutter, because it was It's like very Kirby-esque. You have the light, you have the Dragoon, which is like a really cool ship from Kirby, and then you have Star Cutter, which is just like, I don't know, I forget where that came from, actually. It may have came from Kirby's Return to Dreamland, I think. Is it the Lore Star Cutter? Is that the name of it? Lore Star Cutter. Yeah, that's what it's called. Okay, there's a ship from Kirby's Return to Dreamland called the Lore Star Cutter. So that's what it was called. I called it the Light Dragoon Star Cutter. It was basically like just a cardboard ship. And I remember being so happy with the Light Dragoon Star Cutter. I loved that thing so much. I would put my Kirby plushies in it and they'd go off on adventures. Funnily enough, I could have just built the halberd, but I guess the halberd was too difficult. And the Light Dragoon Star Cutter, I mean, let's be real. It was basically just like, it was just cardboard boxes attached to cardboard boxes. It wasn't anything impressive. But it just kind of gave, like, my friend said, go back to your roots. And I was like, okay. And then I did that. I went back to my roots. I thought about the things that made me happy as a child. And that's where I got the idea to make that final scene, and then I committed to it. But I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was having so much fun making it. And when I was done with it, I was satisfied. And I remember I released a little teaser for the final video, and I remember seeing quite a few comments on there, like criticisms at least, that were people saying like, oh, this is so dramatic, you're taking yourself too seriously, stuff like that, you know? And I think there are a couple other things in there I won't get into, but criticisms, I guess, have always really gotten to me. And they always kind of really, they just eat away at me over time, right? Like maybe in the moment they don't hurt, but like I always think about them, right? It's really difficult because a positive comment and a negative comment, like the ratio that I'll get is like 95-5, right? But for some reason, it's just your mind focuses on the negative, which is not good. But unfortunately, I just tend to remember the negative comments way more often than the positive ones. It's just something my brain naturally does. I really try not to do that, but I still remember plenty of the positive comments as well, but it's like the negative ones are like really hard to forget. I would describe it as that, where it's like you like to remember the positive comments, but you can't remember all of them. The negative ones are hard to forget. Like you'd like to forget them, but they're hard to forget. And usually, like maybe in a moment, a comment that is a criticism or a hate comment, like just, you know, it doesn't, it hurts, but then it like kind of seeps in later. You start thinking about it and you're like, dang, maybe they're right. And I guess for the first time while I was making it, I remember seeing those comments and I was so passionate that I didn't care. Because I was worried. I guess it was because I felt that same feeling like when I was younger, just making things because I loved them. I just kind of had such an overwhelming passion and love at the time of what I was creating that I felt that once I saw those comments, I was like, they just don't understand. And that was it. Like, that's all it took. And maybe it's just because I was leaving, so I didn't have to worry about it, because I was always worried about, like, since there's so much in IDV, there's so much misinformation, there's so many people that just make up straight up lies, or like a game of telephone will over exaggerate things. So a lot of people still thought I was deleting the channel, by the way. It's like, I never once said I was deleting the channel, but people said, oh, he's deleting it. Yep, it's happening. I heard about it. And I was like, never said that, bro. Never said that. And so it's really unfortunate. That's just what happened in the IDV community a lot. Your words will just like get misconstrued, misinterpreted, you get misrepresented. And I think that's one of the most difficult lessons I had to learn as a creator. There was a bad thing that happened back in like January where, you know, I think I reacted overly seriously to some criticism. I definitely did. But I remember it felt really bad because I feel like I always try my best to be, you know, a good person. And I think I could be a lot better of a person. But I remember like I always felt that like if I expressed myself honestly, that people would understand. And that like I think it would be like the right thing to do. But I think one thing that, it was a very hard lesson to accept, but one lesson that I needed to accept was that you will be misrepresented online. It's just a fact. You will, like, no, not everybody will know the truth about you. And maybe if they did, they would change their mind about you, but sometimes they just won't. So sometimes they just never will. You have to accept the fact that people will listen to the people that lie about you, and they'll believe the people that lie about you over you, even though they never gave you a chance. Like, people won't give you a chance. I think that is the hardest lesson that I had to accept. And it took me a long time to, like, make peace with that. And I was really depressed, actually, in January because of it. Like, generally, I think I tried to make, like, 3 different rant videos about it. And I finally had to come to terms with the fact that, like, yeah, people are... It's not just the fact that people are going to hate you, but it's also the fact that people are going to be wrong about you and that other people are going to believe it without any extra research. That sucks because it means you are going to be misrepresented and you have to accept that. That really sucks. But that is a lesson I don't think a lot of people talk about, from what I've seen at least. People always say you have to accept you'll get hated. That I was ready for. You know, you get taught that when you're a child, right? But you don't get taught that you're going to get misrepresented. That, I felt, was a hard lesson to learn. And, you know, obviously, I think that's just, like the content of your character. And I think that's different for a lot of different people. And maybe I'm privileged enough to say that I never experienced something like that before. But I think, like, in the case of, like, online specifically, in the content of someone's character online specifically, like, that's where I felt it. And... It was definitely a hard lesson to learn, that's for sure. Again, maybe I was just too privileged to not have to learn that lesson beforehand. But it was still a hard lesson to learn at the time, that's for sure. Regardless, tangent aside, I was very happy with what I made. I was very, very happy with it. Do I think it's necessarily an objectively good project? Probably not, but I was happy with what I made, and I think it was good for what it was worth. And I think that was like, what would really made things difficult for so long during the month of May and June, as I was talking to Little Rookie about it, of like, what is an objectively good video? Like, I look back at so many of my videos, even ones that I was proud of before, and I think they're bad. Like, I'm just like, that's a bad video. That's not a good video. Like, it's just not very good. Like, I think a lot of my videos on Zeez Vov Gee V, despite that being my most popular channel, I think there's only like 2 to 3 videos on that channel that I actually think are like decent. I think most of the videos on that channel are really bad, like genuinely awful videos. But I made them because I loved them, right? And I had so much fun making them. And it kind of made me think about, like, you know, I was comparing myself to other people. A lot of the time, it's a habit of mine. And so I guess it's tricky because when you make, I think one of the things this just comes with YouTube content as well, is that you can create videos that you'll love and that you think are good to you, but like aren't good to other people. And so I guess it kind of is like a weird, it's hard to balance external validation versus internal validation, I guess, because I think internal validation, like people always talk about when it comes to like self-improvement and whatnot, is like self-confidence and self-validation. And that's something that I struggle with personally a lot. I don't have a lot of confidence. And maybe like subconsciously I look for external validation to like help with that. But I feel like I don't want that to be the case anymore, but I also want to like keep a healthy balance of it, right? Like I do think that even though I had so much fun with the video, I do recognize that like on YouTube, it's like an objectively not good for like algorithm or whatever. And I even could tell because when I first saw the view count on the stream, it was like 450, and then like by the middle it was like 200, and I was like, okay, yeah, so like like 40% of the people already clicked off, right? And it was like prime viewing hours during the middle of it and not prime hours during the start, so you could definitely tell that people just lost interest over time. And then by the end there was like, I think 300, so it climbed up a little bit by the end, but you know, for the most part it lost like a lot of people, right? And so that's how I could tell. I was like, yeah, it definitely is not like objectively algorithmically like a good video. And that like kind of like was what I was struggling with for a very long time, to picture what that would look like for me. And you know, the Little Rookie, that's why he went on the tangent of like, go back and look at the content that kind of inspired you, that made you think like, why are these good videos? And I look back at a good amount of them, at least the ones that I grew up with, and I was like, these are kind of in the same spot where it's like, these are great videos for what they're worth, but like nowadays when it comes to like the YouTube algorithm and whatnot, they're not very good, right? Like I gotta give a shout out to one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, Maryland, OG Pokemon YouTuber. Absolutely love Maryland's content. Grew up watching Maryland's content. The Let's Plays, the Nuzlocks, the Wedlocks, so many different of his projects. One of my favorite creators of all time, right? I have so much respect for Maryland. I remember watching, like, during this time, rewatching a lot of his videos. Shady Penguins as well, another Pokemon creator. A lot of his old videos. Plenty of other creators out there as well, right? Plenty of others. But I remember I was like, these videos are such a product of their time because they don't really do it anymore on YouTube, right? They don't really get the job done on YouTube very much anymore, right? Like they'll satisfy your core audience, but when it comes to like finding newer people, it's very rare, right? It's just kind of how Let's Play content works, unless it's like decently edited, like at a high production with a popular creator behind the thing. Like for like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye stuff, people like that, like they can still make it work, right? They can still make it work because of like their style and like the high production quality, their editing, etc. They can still make it work, right? But like for the people that don't have that, it's pretty tricky to build that up, and that's why, like, you know, they have it through streaming and whatnot and clips and whatnot. There's other ways for like discoverability, but it's kind of hard when you're like a small creator and it's like, why would I want to watch this guy play the game when I could watch Markiplier play it, right? You know, it's stuff like that. So I know it's like, and also like when you play more niche games or smaller games that aren't just like the mainstream ones, it's even a smaller audience. So it's tricky. It's a lot of stuff to keep track of. But I remember looking back at Maryland's content and it's just like, dang, some of these videos have like 200, 3,000K views. And it's unfortunate because if you were to make that exact same content nowadays, it would probably get like 10 to 20% of the views at best. I'm being honest with you, at best. And it really sucks because those videos, to me, are incredibly heartfelt. There's so much passion put behind them, and they're so good from that standpoint. But from a algorithmic YouTube standpoint, one that is like actually able to keep you financially afloat, genuinely, it's not really feasible. You know, it's not really feasible. And that really kind of got me thinking about how objectivity versus love and passion can kind of clash with each other. And I think that's like what a lot of creators on YouTube get burnt out from, is because a lot of the content that they want to create doesn't match what the algorithm looks for, right? I mean, that's why you have so many creators, like even people like get burnt out from watching as well. Like I remember seeing a lot of posts of like why YouTube is so boring now is because it's so formulaic. Like so many people have similar editing styles because it's the most engaging one. Like think about how many editing styles where the first 30 seconds of the video have text at the start that like shows up on the, like it'll have like sentences and there's going to be like a highlighter on each word. It's because that really helps with viewer retention at the start. And the most important part of a video is that first like 30 seconds of keeping viewer retention. And so there's just so many like tips and tricks and editing styles, and like there's like the Mr. Beast objective, like, you know, he's found like the most captivating style and so many people replicate it. That's like the Mr. Beastification kind of thing, right? And so if you want to reach like the most types of people this way, you have to like kind of maybe go up against artistic decisions. And it's kind of unfortunate that what YouTube, these YouTube strategies, I guess, kind of go against like that artistic direction or artistic visions, I guess. Maybe not even like, it doesn't even have to be like super in depth, but it's like maybe you have a vision for a video, but because it starts very, very slow and builds up to something crazy, you know, no one's gonna continue watching it or something, right? Like people don't have that patience anymore online. And yeah, I think we're all guilty of that, right? Like that's just something it's just how the culture of the platforms and social media have kind of changed things. I mean, look at shorts content exploding. That's why YouTube shorts are being shoved in your face all the time, because people just get addicted and just keep scrolling and watching. And I don't know, it's just something that kind of contributes to everything. So it's, to me, I was like battling between objectively good video in multiple ways. Like, I'm thinking about objectively good video from a YouTube algorithmic standpoint. I'm thinking about it from a content perspective. I'm thinking about it from an educational standpoint of like, am I bringing enough information, quality information? Have I researched like the topic that I'm talking about enough to make sure I'm not providing any misinformation? Am I doing it in an efficient way? Like, maybe it's just a perfectionist mindset, but I think about like making long form or like project videos and how much work can go into it. And then if you're just like slightly off or slightly unlucky or bad timing, or maybe it wasn't this way, you could just spend all that time for nothing. And so I guess that put a lot of fear into me, and I wasn't really sure what to do next. And I guess I'm just constantly chasing that. I was constantly like running around in my head, chasing like the idea of like a perfect video. And it was mostly because of that talk with Little Rookie where I was saying like, oh, I'm constantly doing, but I'm not thinking. Like you said, it's the Sakurai thing, right? Do it now, think about it, what it all means later. And so I wasn't really thinking about what it all meant later until like these last few months, where all I've been doing, I feel like, is mostly just thinking. I haven't really been making a lot of content. I've mostly just been thinking about making it or making good content. And so I'm going to be honest, I'm talking about this all, and I still have yet to find an answer. I have yet to find an answer about like what the perfect video is, what the perfect style is. And I think that's where I'm kind of getting into future plans, and it's just going to be experimenting. I think that's like what I'm going to be doing for a little while. Like, I think I need to give myself a little bit of time. And that's the problem, is like, I think the issue right now is that I mentioned earlier, if I don't start making money by January, I'm going to be in a bad spot, right? And if I have to pick up a job, like a part-time job around here, so be it. But it's like, it's awkward because people are like, oh, it takes time, it takes patience. But when this is also like me needing to like get back to making money again, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, patience is one thing, but I only have so much time, right? Not just for my own finances, but I only have so much time here on YouTube as well, because there are other things that I want to do with my life. And so if I feel like I don't want to waste so much time before I can start making things that I'm proud of again. And it kind of gets that feeling of like, oh, well, you know, all these other people that know what they're doing, I'm going to start falling behind them, and that really sucks. And I think I just kind of had to remember the feeling of what it was like to work on this project, where it felt like nothing else in the world mattered. This, like, for it, basically the entire project took an entire week. But for that week, it felt like nothing else mattered, right? Like, not like, when I say nothing else mattered, I specifically mean my satisfaction with my creation and like my main focus. Like, I would wake up and I would feel happy to start working on this. And even though I was like tired, I'd be like, okay, this is still fun though. Like, I was drawing and I was like, there's still so many things to do left. But like, I was looking forward to it, even though I was kind of tired because I was working very, very long hours. It's a weird feeling. Like, it's a satisfaction, I guess, from what you're doing. Is, you know, it's like a weird mix of loathing, but like loving it. I don't know. Because there's so much to do in such little time. But I was like, man, I'm gonna be so happy with it once it's done. And I was happy while I was working on it. And I think it's like chasing that feeling is what I'm looking for the future right now. And that, like I said to the Little Rookie, I have so many projects that I want to do. And obviously I think I'm still gonna, you know, work on some side projects here. So I told him a couple days ago that I'm probably gonna be splitting my focus about 25-75. Where I think 25% of my time working is going to be spent on like the more casual, laid back stuff that I feel more obligated to do. For example, I've been playing through Fire Emblem Three Hopes, and I really want to finish that series through or before the new game Fortune's Weave comes out in a couple months. So that is a big thing that I want to finish up. Very time consuming, unfortunately. There's a lot of grinding and whatnot, and a lot of recording time that goes into that game. So it's just kind of a slog to, I wouldn't say it's a slog to get through because I enjoy playing the game, but also I mostly enjoy playing the game when it comes to the story aspect. And there's a lot of filler missions in that game, and there's like a lot of extra content that I have to do. And it's like, that part of the game is a little exhausting, and not to mention the editing takes forever. But I want to dedicate like 25% of my time to stuff like that, and then 70% of my time is just going to be chasing the feeling of satisfaction and happiness while working on a video. It's something that I can be proud of in my own way and continue to build up said skills maybe through said videos. So there are a few other projects that I do want to work on, and well, I say few, there's tons of projects that I want to work on, and I don't know what is coming first, but I hope that you'll be able to start seeing some of it soon. I don't know where it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like hardcore focused on streaming. I don't know if it's going to be hardcore focused on drawing. I don't know if it's going to be hardcore focused on cooking. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. Right now, I simply don't know what it's going to be, but I know what I'm chasing, right? I think I still have a few more days before I can really start dedicating myself to it, because once again, I stayed up all night to finish the project, and so my sleep schedule is completely out of whack. My room is still a complete mess from all the materials from it. I still haven't even thrown away the set, and so there's still a lot of like cleanup work that I have to do, and not to mention just like some other commitments and stuff. So it's like, I think the biggest thing is I just have to be patient. I have to work at it and want it, but I can't get burned. I can't burn myself out chasing it, like chasing what I want to do next. I think that is kind of what I'm trying to get at here. Is I think what I was really doing in the month of May and June was I was trying to rush to the next thing and just figure it out like instantly. And that doesn't always happen, right? You don't just like strike gold randomly. And I'm really glad that I like had the talks with friends and I worked on this project, because I feel that I finally was satisfied with the ending of that channel, and I was finally like got that closure. But I also finally realized like that I like working on projects like these, and like I like the idea of working on such a big project that people will be excited to watch, right? And I don't know if that's like the next direction for what I'll be working on YouTube. I told the little rookie, like he was like, well, what content do you want to make? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, what got you to making YouTube in the first place? And I was like, that's a trickier question, but one I can probably answer. And I think it was like, as cheesy as it is, obviously, let me get this out of the way. I do have to make money. That is one thing. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you and say this is only like the reason I'm about to say is like the only reason. I do need to make money. I do need to live. That I'm not gonna lie and say like people say I don't do it for the money. I do. I do it for the money. It's just the fact that it's not only the money, right? But I think what I really want to do is create something that makes me happy, and something that I am like artistically and creatively satisfied with, but also to give the same feeling to other people that I had when I was growing up on YouTube and watching videos. Like to give that same inspiration, to give that same I guess inspiration is maybe the biggest word that I can call it, but it like takes me back to like watching those videos by like Marilyn and whatnot, when I would see the whole story of like a Let's Play, and like the story would come to an end, or like a whole Nuzlocke journey of like seeing all the Pokemon that were caught and then all the ones that fell, and like seeing the story that came out of that. And then at the end, it would be like some grand battle versus the champion. Some Pokemon would fall, some Pokemon would make it. And at the end, there was like a whole recap of all like the fan art and the whole story, like tied together with this amazing music. I think specifically Marilyn's Pokemon Platinum Nuzlocke was my favorite journey. And I think I've rewatched the final video. That Platinum Nuzlocke, I'll probably rewatch it right after I finish talking about this, or at least like part of it. I've watched that video probably hundreds of times. I'm not even kidding. I've probably watched that one video all the way through at least 100 times. Because it just gives me that feeling of like, wow, this was really cool. This was really, really cool. And so it's like that feeling is what I want to give to other people, I guess. I think that's just something that I want to do more. Because being able to like do that for other people, like Marilyn and so many others did for me, is just kind of, I don't know. I guess it's just what I want to do. It's just something that I want to do. I guess that's all I really have to say. Yeah, I don't know. That's about that. And so I guess even though it took me a couple months, my original plan, by the way, I remember I told this to my friends at a wedding when I told them about like the boycott and everything for IDV and how I was quitting. They were like, well, what are you going to do for money? What are you going to do for your next thing? And I was like, well, here's the plan. For 3 months, I'm going to experiment around, blah, 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 and I'm going to be hopefully back on track in 3 months. And here's the thing. I think if I gave it my 100% and I abandoned everything except for one channel and focused hardcore on one specific niche topic, I think that I could do pretty well. The problem is I would not be satisfied with it. Like, I thought about, let me do like a Pokemon challenges, focused hardcore edited, and I'm just gonna like dedicate like 14 hours a day, every single day, do it, boom. I think if I put my nose to the grindstone, I could do it. The problem is, I don't think I would like it very much. I really don't. Like, I don't know, I haven't done it yet, so but I don't like the idea of just like doing nothing but Pokemon challenges. Like, I'm sorry, like I genuinely think that would burn me out so fast. I think I would maybe enjoy one, but I don't think I could do more than like 1 or 2. I genuinely think if I just like hadn't, like there are challenges out. I think there's a channel called Pokemon Challenges on YouTube. I've seen some of their content. Good stuff, right? Like I do like watching Pokemon challenges, and they're quite popular. But like, it's tricky because I think for Pokemon specifically, it's very oversaturated. And so much of the content now is like modded stuff. And I've never really I don't know how I feel about tapping into like mods for Pokemon, right? Because I really enjoy like the non-modded stuff. And it's unfortunate that like not a lot of people are interested in that kind of stuff. Like they like the challenges, right? It's tricky. That's the other thing. It's like, yeah, no one wants to see you play through the game anymore. They want to see you play through the game, but you have to do this. It's like play through the game, but, you know, like that's like that's what so many of like gaming is on YouTube now. It's like play the game, but, and for me, it's like I just like playing the game and sharing my experience with it. I don't want to do the game, but unless it's like a second playthrough or like a second thing. And it's tricky because for me, as somebody who likes playing video games, but also likes playing a variety of video games, it feels very tricky to go from like this game to this game to this game to this game. And then I don't have time for other ones, right? Or like for like IDV, it was like different because there was like so much content in that game. There was so many different things you could do in that game. But like if it's for Pokemon, right? Like a Pokemon mainline game, there's only so much that you can do, right? There's not like a constantly updating every week. There's something new to do, like a live service game. Like there's only so much you can do, right? There truly is only so much you can do in a game. And that's where like the mods come in, right? Where people like make all these mods for all these old games. Or like randomized Nuzlocke kind of thing. That's one of the biggest ones. And I just feel that it's like very, very oversaturated. And I just don't feel that my specific way of doing something would be very interesting. Even though it could probably get a lot of views. It's like, I just don't want to chase views. I guess that's the biggest thing. I want to chase something that will satisfy me, but will also get enough views that I can live. That's the thing, right? So I have to, it's like all about like that balancing kind of thing. It's like, I need to balance my passion with something that can earn money, right? And luckily, like for IDV, I had both, right? That's the thing. For IDV, like my insane passion also was able to keep me financially stable. And now finding something like that again is tricky, especially when, at least for IDV, even though I was very passionate about it, this is where I'm kind of getting into the thinking thing, is I just made a lot of videos for it. And there was a lot of passion and love into those videos, but I don't think a lot of those videos are like good. Like they didn't really satisfy me, right? Like sure, maybe like temporarily they did, but I don't think I could go back and be like, oh man, I sure do love rank from 2024, right? Like, oh, these rank matches from 2024. Sure, like it was fun for that week, but like I'm not gonna go back to ranked matches from 2024 and have like a, man, that was the best video ever, man. Oh my gosh. Like what would be great would be like, you know, going back and watching like how I reacted to the story of the game or something like that. Or like going back and seeing the very first time I reached like the highest rank, right? It's like those specific projects or those milestones or those stories are what I feel more fulfilled by, rather than just like the, as my friend put it, coverage content. He said that I'm like on YouTube, what I've basically done is like kind of coverage or like let's play content, coverage content. And he's like, okay, you've kind of just mastered that style. But he's like, you haven't really done a lot of project-based content outside of like Zeez Vov Gee 2. And I was like, you know what, you're right. I haven't really done that much project content. Most of what I do is just like that live, like, hi guys, today we're gonna be playing this game, let's do it type content, as opposed to like a scripted, edited, like well thought out project. And so what's interesting about like chasing these or like finding these projects is another thing that I think it was Hank Green or something, I forget, but I remember seeing a video and it was about on YouTube, and it was about like, I think it was like labeling and whatnot, and how people like really tie themselves to their labels, especially when it comes to like ways to express themselves, right? But I remember it's like one thing he said, I think, I don't remember if it was him that said it, I think it was him though, and it was like how on YouTube, like when he'd be like, oh, what do you do? Like, what's your job? And he's like, I do projects. And like, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, I do projects. And it's because he would like jump from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing and work on that project, and would specifically research that project and the skills needed for that project. And then he would move on to the next project. And sure, you're going to need different skills for that project. But as you jump from project to project, working on these different things, those skills from your previous projects could be used in future projects. And it's like, dang, that's really cool. And so I'm wondering, like, do I want to do something like that? Do I want to work on project-based content where I just start doing this project? And it's like, oh, I really want to do cooking. Let's do a cooking project. Let's not try to do everything at once. Let's just be like, okay, let's take a week and let's do like a cooking project. Boom. And then I did it. And now I have that knowledge. I have those skills. Let's now do a drawing project. Boom. Drawing. Done. Let's move on to the next thing. And then you just go project to project to project to project to project. And like, your skills can build up as you work on said projects, and could be useful in future projects, like projects that maybe I could not do right now, I could do next year because of all the previous projects that I have experience with, right? And so that's another thing that I've really kind of been thinking about, is like when it comes to working on quality projects as opposed to quantity. I guess that's kind of like what IDV was for me. It was like, I mean, I guess, I don't know if I would call it low quality, but I would just say it was more quantity than super high quality, like insanely invested projects, right? And so that's the thing, is like, I think back to a lot of the content I liked, and even though some of it was kind of like that quantity, not really super like project-based things, it was like there was something special about it. And so it's chasing something that is special, but I think it's chasing something also that is something that I will be satisfied with after like a month later, right? Like if I'm gonna go back and look at my IDV videos, there's over how many videos? I think there's over 1,000 videos on my IDV channel, but I don't know how many exactly. I think there's like 1.4 thousand. Let me see. There are 1.2. Sorry, 1.2K videos. I think like probably 50 of them have been deleted / privated. So maybe there's like 1.3, but there's it says 1.2K videos. So 1,200 videos. That's a lot of videos, dude. That's a lot of videos. And of those videos that I would want to rewatch, there's probably only like 30 of them, if I'm being honest. Like there's one that like I'd be like entertained by it, but am I gonna end the video and be like, I guess what I'm thinking about is like, am I gonna end the video and feel satisfied with what I watched, or am I just gonna go on to the next thing, right? Like, is it like, I guess maybe I would describe it as like junk food, maybe, or it's like you watch it and it's like, okay, cool. All right, next thing, you know? And it's like, I don't want to just be like, all right, cool, okay, next thing. I want to do something that's like, wow, that was delicious. That was a delicious video. I'll be thinking about that video a lot. And then maybe I'll like that video so much that I'll go back and rewatch it again, right? Maybe it's like something that'd be timeless, you know, where it's like you could watch it and be satisfied with it that day, and then come back, you know, a year later and be like, yeah, this is still great, you know. There's still things like that. Maybe it's also like there's nostalgia that definitely plays a part into it as well. But there are projects and YouTube videos that I have rewatched many a time. I think there's a great example is Wolfie VGC, like godlike creator. I mean, has a lot of people on his team as well that I can't compete with that. He's got like 40 people on his team as well. But, you know, like he creates really, really good like tournament videos that only he could produce with like that many people. Like it's impossible. Like to do it with one person, you'd make like one video a year. Like you would need the team, right? But, you know, like those videos that he creates they're timeless. Like I could go back, I could watch that video for the first time and be like, wow, that was great. And I'll come back a year later and watch it again. I think I've rewatched multiple of his videos, and every single time I'm like, wow, these are just so good. And there's plenty of videos like that as well, where I just, you know, like I said with the Maryland one, or just other videos in the past, that, you know, you can watch for the first time, and then in 5 years, 10 years, you'll go back and be like, yeah, this is still amazing, right? And so it's stuff like that, where it's like, maybe not everything has to be that, but I do want to leave that lasting impression, I guess, right? Or I want people to be like, wow, that was a great video. I was satisfied, and maybe I'll watch it again in the future or something like that, right? I guess I don't really know what exactly it's going to entail. I don't know what exactly is coming next, but the feeling that I have right now is one of satisfaction with the current project that I finished, and I want to move on to the next thing. And I want to work hard on it. I want it to be something I can be passionate about. And I think for like the first time in 2 months, I can happily say that, yeah, I'm excited. Because I was really, really down in the dumps there for a while, and I just had no idea what I was doing. And it's crazy because it's kind of the same way now. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sad. But now it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is exciting. I guess that's the biggest thing now, is even though my situation hasn't changed, I think it's just because I've had the time to think on it and reflect on everything. And it's just, I think that's what's changed, is that even though the situation is so similar to how it was just a couple months ago, and even though me of 3 months ago would be like screaming like, you got to get your act together, right now I'm still just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm excited, you know? And there's still definitely like some doubts and some worries that I have. I mean, if I'm not making money by January, like things are not going to be looking too good. But, you know, I think maybe this is just cheesy. But, you know, as I was playing Three Hopes, there was a support conversation between Claude and Happy. And, you know, it's so silly because I don't know if it's like an escapism thing, but it kind of just helped me a little bit. There was a moment where Happy said, I think it was like, it's all going to work out.
The list of things I want to accomplish is as long as my arm. And if I want to see them become a reality, I've got a lot of work ahead of me.
Well then, I guess you've got my support. I mean, all these heady thoughts and ideas are a bit above the level of yours truly. But I can still give support. So, chin up, Claudster. It's all gonna work out.
Chin up, Claudster. I'm taking that from you, Happy.
Someone I knew used to say that. A relative, I think? I can't really remember.
Well, I appreciate it regardless. It's exactly the kind of thing I need to hear right now.
In that case, I'll double down. It's all gonna work out.
It sounds even better the second time. Seriously, you should be telling that to everyone you meet.
There you go again, putting others first. Yeah, well, it's all gonna work out, Claudster. I just have a feeling.
And it's so funny because I feel like when it comes to things I've seen on the like internet or something, and when it comes to people who are very stressed, I've always been very. I've not really been like super satisfied when I hear things like, "It's all gonna be all right," because like you don't know that, or like it's like it'll get better. You know, it's like you don't know that, and it's like they don't know that, but and like sometimes maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe it doesn't get better. But I think it was weird, just like at that specific moment, I remember hearing that, and I was like. For some reason, it just like kind of took me out of the game there for a moment, and I was like, "Wow, it's gonna be all good. Like it's all gonna work out." And so maybe it won't. I don't know, but like right now, I'm thinking that it's all gonna work out. That's how I'm feeling. I think it's like maybe it's just that mind over matter kind of thing. I don't know. But I think it's all gonna work out. That's how I'm feeling. So, yeah, I think that's about everything I wanted to rant about. All I can say is that I hope you're excited for future content. I'm mostly gonna be experimenting. That's all I can really say. Outside of 20% of the content being like current stuff that I'm working on, Fire Emblem 3 Hopes I want to work on. Maybe I'll play some Xenoblade 2 since they just released like the 4K update for that game, and I do love Xenoblade 2. So maybe I'll do like a couple videos on that, or maybe I'll do like a series on that like throughout a very long time or something. So I don't know. Maybe we'll slowly chip away at like some games, and maybe I'll do some streaming. I don't know. I really don't know what's next, but it'll all work out, and I'm excited. I am excited to see what it's all about. And like I said, I was procrastinating earlier. There's a freaking summer event in P5X that ends in 2 days, and I really don't feel like doing it, but I want to do it because I've already committed to it, like starting it and like doing all the content for P5X. But man, I don't like the summer update. It's boring. It's not very fun. We'll finish it though, you know? We'll finish it so we can move on to the more exciting stuff, right? Anyways, thank you for watching the podcast, and thank you for all your support, everybody. I truly appreciate it. We're monetized on this channel now, so who knows? Maybe you'll see some more stuff on this channel soon. Maybe a few more podcasts, maybe a few more of those projects that I've been mentioning. Who knows? All I can say is expect anything. Expect anything. That's all I'll say, because I don't even know what to expect myself. Just expect anything. It's all gonna work out, bro. All right, that's all for today. Take care, gamers. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.